Hello dear friends, you're watching the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we'll discuss the situation in Ukraine as of July 11th, 2025. A lot of very interesting developments have occurred today, so let's get started. At the moment, very difficult negotiations are underway, not between Zelensky, Ukraine and the Russian Federation, but between the United States of America and the Russian Federation. These are heavy talks between US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. A wide range of issues are being discussed, but the main question is, what happens next? The Americans are trying to understand how Russia plans to end the conflict. Will it continue indefinitely, or will it end within a month or two? What's the plan going forward? The US sees, based on their perception of how warfare is conducted, that the Russian army isn't advancing as fast as expected. Because of that, they're trying to pressure Russia into ending the conflict based on the gains already made. However, we see that the Russian side is making no compromises and continues to insist on achieving its original goals. It's worth noting that over the next few days, we are likely to see a lot of interesting developments. Donald Trump is planning to announce new sanctions against Russia, and this announcement may come very soon. We'll, of course, keep observing how the situation unfolds. But already today, some pro-Russian analysts have made statements suggesting that we may soon see a new document from the Russian Federation. According to sources familiar with the matter, Russia might be prepared to make significant concessions regarding a peaceful resolution to the conflict. It's difficult to say what specific steps or concessions Russia may be willing to take. Perhaps it involves withdrawing from cities like Zaporizhia or Kherson, or relinquishing part of the Kherson region. Possibly something else. But it seems that we'll find out soon. Meanwhile, the Russian Federation continues to carry out massive strikes across Ukrainian territory. Yesterday, for example, another large-scale strike was carried out using several hundred drones and missiles. This time, Kyiv was attacked again. It now seems that these strikes are occurring very frequently, every day or two. And the attacks come in waves, first on western Ukraine, then on Kyiv, then central Ukraine, and again back to Kyiv. They rotate, but every second wave seems to be directed at the capital. We can observe the approximate flight routes of drones and missiles. Around 400 drones were used, along with several cruise and ballistic missiles. Kyiv, of course, was heavily bombarded. Most of the strikes hit the western part and the southeastern outskirts. Here's the aftermath of the massive July 10th strike, as seen in the morning. Kyiv was in flames, smoke clouds, fires everywhere. The damage was substantial. Importantly, this escalation followed the latest phone call between US President Donald Trump and the President of Russia. Something clearly didn't go according to plan during that call, because now every second statement Trump gives to the press is about how he's unhappy with Russia and unhappy with Putin. So clearly something happened. At this point, we don't know what exactly. It remains to be seen whether this is just theater, Trump creating a public narrative to justify certain actions that may come, say on Monday, or whether something serious truly happened. Perhaps he received a definitive response from Russia that no compromises will be made. We'll continue monitoring the situation. It is extremely tense. Everyone is intrigued. And while this intrigue continues, the Russian military is systematically destroying military recruitment centers (TCCs) across Ukraine. This time, the city of Odessa was targeted. Here we have footage of the strikes. According to the video's author and several sources, the strike hit the TCC in Odessa. We'll be watching and reading the comments to see how locals react. I'll remind you that recently, there have been instances where Ukrainian citizens responded positively to such strikes on TCCs. It's hard to say what the goal is. Perhaps the Russian Federation is gradually preparing the ground for something. Now, let's move to the front line. We have some interesting map updates. And we'll begin with the Kupansk sector, not the northern part, which remains unclear, especially northwest and west of Kupansk, including the village of Mirny. No fresh updates have come from there, although the Russian Ministry of Defense had long marked these areas as under Russian control. According to this setup, Kupansk is already effectively encircled. However, there are no concrete updates. What's actually going on is unclear, but the picture is a bit clearer in the Borov sector, central Kupansk, and in the Lyman sector, southern Kupansk. In the Borov direction, the Ministry of Defense and affiliated units have published footage showing Russian assault troops clearing out a Ukrainian armed forces strongpoint in open fields. This video has been geolocated, showing Russian units eliminating Ukrainian positions. Based on these visuals, map updates were made. Yesterday, even pro-Ukrainian mappers from Deep State updated their maps, showing that the Russian army had advanced toward Novoplatonivka and Borova. Today we see partial confirmation of this via geolocated footage. This particular area, Novoplatonivka, Lozova, Novokruliakivka, Bohuslavka and Zaporizhia, is extremely murky, covered by the fog of war. It's genuinely unclear what's happening here. Different cartographers show different control. Some show Bohuslavka, Novokruliakivka and Zaporizhia as fully under Ukrainian control. Others show it like we do. A few weeks ago, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have cleared Novokruliakivka. Today, new footage shows advances from Lozova. Clearly, fierce back-and-forth fighting is taking place here. It's likely that these villages are changing hands multiple times per day. Russia is pushing toward Borova, while Ukraine is constantly counter-attacking, trying to regain lost ground. This tug-of-war has been going on for quite a while now. Next, we move to the Lyman sector. The situation around Rydkadub is still unclear. Today there are new reports and footage of the Russian military targeting a school in the village. That would indicate the village is either in a grey zone or under Ukrainian control. We haven't seen that footage yet, but once it appears, we'll update the map accordingly. What is clearer is the situation south of there, near the town of Lyman, where Russian forces have been on the offensive for several days. This offensive began around July 8th, which marked a significant breakthrough. By the end of July 8th, this map reflects the Russian advance after a prolonged operational pause. At that point, Zhelina Dolina was either partially or fully under Ukrainian control. The surrounding fields were also under Ukrainian control. But starting July 9th, major map updates began. By the end of July 9th, 2025, this is what the situation looked like. These updates were also based on Deep State's analysis, showing a large chunk marked as Russian-controlled. By July 10th, further adjustments were made. In the Karpivka area, Russian troops gradually pushed toward the Nitrous River. On July 10th, the first reports came in that Zhelina Dolina had been fully cleared by Russian forces. However, by the end of July 10th, no official footage or statements from the Ministry of Defense had been released. But this morning, on July 11th, we finally received visual confirmation. Here you can see Russian assault troops clearing Zhelina Dolina, moving from one building to the next. The footage also shows close quarters fighting between Russian and Ukrainian units. One geolocation is from the eastern edge, and another from the western edge of the settlement. Based on this footage, a full map update was made. We're now waiting for confirmation from the Ministry of Defense. Overall, we can see that despite the difficulties possibly occurring on the western flank, in the area of Rydkadub, Lushenkove, Novyi Mir, and Novomikhailivka, the Russian army is steadily advancing toward Shandrihalov. This is the largest settlement where Russia might be able to accumulate additional forces for a further push toward Drobyshev. So we see the distance to Lyman is gradually decreasing. The pace of the offensive is, of course, not rapid, certainly not tens of kilometers per day, but progress is being made. The Russian army is advancing, step by step, and planning to go further. Next, we move to the Konstantinivka sector. Fighting continues around the Kleban-Beek reservoir. According to various analysts and cartographers, over the past 24 hours, the Russian army has once again managed to advance on the western outskirts of Yablunivka. In these images, we can see FPV drone strikes carried out by Ukrainian units against Russian soldiers involved in logistics. One of the drone strikes in the footage was geolocated to that exact spot. And based on these visuals, we concluded that Russian forces had cleared yet another Ukrainian strongpoint in western Yablunivka. This is how the map looked back on July 9th. By July 11th, we've made the appropriate updates. Overall, if you look at the progress, Russian forces have come quite a long way from Novoolenivka. There were many strongpoints in this area. Just 3 major strongpoints now remain between Russian units and the collapse of Yablunivka's defense. Once those fall, the area will be fully cleared. and the battle will shift to the Konstantinivka agglomeration. Russian forces continue their advance, while Russian FPV drones dominate Yablunivka and the area around Oleksandro-Kalinove, preventing Ukrainian units from moving freely. The fighting goes on. Now we move to the Pokrovsk sector. Concerning the N32 highway, over the past 2 days, not much has changed. Drones are flying, aviation is active, and strikes continue. But since Russian units entered Novoe Ekonomichny about a week ago, we've received no further updates. That silence strongly suggests that Ukrainian forces may have retaken the area and forced Russian troops to retreat. For now, this is just speculation. We're still waiting for additional confirmation. However, the lack of any new information from the area suggests that something like this may have happened. Meanwhile, Russia has established full control over the town of Dobropilya. We've discussed the importance of this logistical hub many times, especially at the start of the Russian offensive along the N32. A large number of videos were published showing destroyed Ukrainian equipment, followed by a short media silence. Now, new footage has appeared again. The videos show a massive amount of destroyed equipment along the road: construction vehicles, engineering equipment, likely resupply trucks. A Ukrainian vehicle drives by, surveying the scene, seemingly in disbelief that Russian drones could reach this far. At the same time, we see that Ukraine is rapidly trying to construct new defensive lines and protective netting in hopes of limiting drone effectiveness. But the construction is clearly in its infancy. The posts are up, but the nets haven't been stretched yet. This suggests Russia still has some time to further degrade Ukraine's logistics along this route. Meanwhile, Ukrainian sources appear to be in a state of panic, publishing this analytical material showing a map of Dobropilya, along with several stills from recent video footage. These sources report that over the past 36 hours alone, Russia has used at least 100 drones to strike Ukrainian positions, logistics nodes, and vehicles in Dobropilya. 100 drones is a significant number. That likely means 100 separate targets, one drone per target. Some targets may have been hit by multiple drones, but the overall number is high. If Russia keeps up this pace, Ukrainian logistics will have to be pulled back even farther northwest into Ukraine's interior, which could create serious supply problems. Now let's move to the South Donetsk and Dnipro directions, where Russian forces continue their westward push without interruption. Right now, the main fighting is centered around the town of Myrna. Frankly, we expected Ukrainian forces to retreat from the town yesterday. The assault began on July 9th. On July 10th, pro-Ukrainian cartographers updated their maps to show that Russian forces had secured the central part of the village. The entire area was marked as a grey zone. Today we were expecting some sort of visual confirmation, possibly footage from the Vostok group, or an announcement from the Ministry of Defense. But so far, nothing. At the same time, Russian forces are advancing northward from the settlement of Tolstoy, which was recently cleared by Russian troops, with visual confirmation to support it. After a brief regrouping, Russian units resumed their advance. Their current objective is to clear the villages of Zeleny High, Novoakhtarske, and Hrushevske. Today we've received reports that Russian forward units have already reached or entered the small village of Hrushevske. It's just one street with maybe a dozen buildings. It's likely the village will be cleared today and that Russian forces will continue toward Novoakhtarske. Combat operations here are expected to continue until Russian forces reach the administrative boundaries of the oblast, which are just a few kilometers away. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian side appears to be rotating or evacuating units from the area. But Russian FPV drone operators are active, and the moment anything is detected, it is targeted and destroyed. Movement and concealment are extremely difficult here. There are also reports of Russian forces advancing toward the settlement of Voskresenka. This information is coming from various sources, including footage of drone strikes on Russian assault troops and equipment moving across the fields toward the village. These videos were released by Ukraine's 31st Brigade and serve as confirmation for additional map updates. Combat is now at the doorstep of this village. As for the Zaporizhia front, after several days of intense fighting, combat activity has slowed considerably. Despite the fact that the northern part of Kamyansk hasn't been fully cleared and fighting continues in the central part, we haven't seen any new map adjustments. It's possible that Ukraine has brought in reinforcements to stabilize the situation. For now, we may see a temporary operational pause here. That's all for now, dear friends. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and take care.